Thank you for joining us for the How You Got Started podcast, dedicated to helping you find your passions by hearing stories from entrepreneurs that are living theirs. Today, we're speaking with Bill Waters, a serial entrepreneur who has helped a myriad of businesses build their products and concepts from the ground up to become huge successes. Over the past 5 years, he's built his own product called Extreme Eco, and his new passion project is CanadaBoosts. And I'm so excited to hear about it. Thank you so much, Bill, for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So tell me about your history. What are some of the amazing feats you've accomplished so far?
Yeah, it started back in 1991 with a product that a friend had come up with, actually. And he was looking for help getting this on to the market. It was called Frostbuster. We brought it to the marketplace pretty late. Retail doesn't really look at products in July, but that's what we did, especially winter products, I mean.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting that product into every retail store across Canada by that December and selling the company for multi-million dollars to Atlantic Promotions that following January.
Wow.
So that was sort of the first big success. We learned a lot during that process, and then it evolved. We went to, do you want to hear about the other?
Yeah, tell me more.
The whole evolution.
Yeah. So that was your first, after
That was the first product.
Like,
I was hooked. Yeah, I was in. It was something I couldn't get away from, even if I tried. But one of the things I really came to understand even way back then was, and it was through the help of one of the buyers at the time, it was Wilco. That just tells you how long ago it was. But their point was, we just supply shelves. And what we as buyers need to do is figure out what products people will know about and will come into our store to get. So we have to maximize and optimize that relationship. So we didn't have any advertising. We didn't have any awareness programs. So we went back to the table, created an advertisement, got some airtime on the Weather Network, and lo and behold, it worked. So it proved to us, one, you needed to have awareness. You needed to have the influence, the Weather Network, and then you needed accessibility. And that was the stores. That was the retail at the time. So that was sort of a formula that I took to companies, other companies that were looking for the same sort of thing. And it really is, quite frankly, the hardest thing. You think creating the product's the hard thing? No, marketing and selling is the hardest thing. And by the time you get to it, most small manufacturers don't have enough money to actually do the job that they need to have done. So back then, I was introduced to a producer who was wanting to create this series called Today's Inventor. I helped get the money together for it, and we created a program together where we would feature the inventors of Canadian products. This is in the 90s. Yeah. And we used the medium of television to generate the awareness, and every product that we put through that program, we were able to get mass retail for.
Wow.
That lasted for a little bit. But then I started to realize that television was losing its edge, and the next frontier was digital media. No one really knew how to use it. I didn't, but we jumped in, we figured it out. I ended up building an e-commerce organization called We Create. We were building platforms for companies like Walmart and Patagonia, figuring this whole thing out at the time in the early 2000s. And then we started doing custom jobs for all these different companies, focusing more on understanding social media and how to build those platforms, e-commerce platforms. It was a Wild West. Some things worked, some things didn't. And then a lot of things worked, and I was made an offer that I couldn't refuse. So I sold, got into other tech companies, built those up, ideas from other developers looking for marketing, trying to figure out how to get their innovation, their digital innovation successful. And had a number of successes with that.
You were saying that some things didn't work.
Yeah, well, quite a few things.
Yeah. What were some of those things?
I imported a machine from Germany. That was an eco machine. It was during a time that we felt there's a lot of talk about the environment and trying to get away from chemicals. Big lesson there was that what is important in Germany is not necessarily important in North America. We have plenty of water. What this machine did was cleaned without the use of chemicals by just using water. The big thing in Germany is that they couldn't have toxic solutions going into their wastewater. They had limited supply of water. It was all ground or surface level water. We don't have those problems here. So the whole idea of eliminating the toxic chemicals really was a nice to have, but it wasn't a need to have. What was really necessary was it had to do the job. We had to figure out how we could make it work in this environment. I say on one hand, it wasn't a success, largely because it was too much of a success. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I see you look on your face. We ended up finding out that this machine could clean the play mats on the McDonald's playlands.
Oh.
Chemicals would break apart all of the rubber, and so they weren't able to use or sanitize the regular way. They tested our machine. They got us to go down to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, where they work with the rubber plants on all of their adhesives to see what the impact would be on breaking apart these mats. And it did an incredible job. We ended up becoming a part of the equipment package of McDonald's.
Wow.
And then Tim Hortons, and then Dairy Queen, because we were finding things that were a problem for our target customers. So it's things like grout and cleaning gum off of concrete, things like that. We were finding the little things. So we were trying to sort of take a square peg and put it into a round hole by shaving the corners.
Right.
We figured out how to get it in. It became so successful that the company in Germany ended up trying to sell it all around the world. They stretched themselves way too thin. They went bankrupt, went into receivership, and we ended up losing everything.
Wow.
So it was a bit of a failure in the sense that it didn't get to where I wanted to get.
Do you see failure as failure, or do you just see it as a learning opportunity? Or
I feel every time I fail, which is not,
of course,
which is somewhat destructive. But I also, I'm also very realistic about what it takes to be successful, and if there are things that cannot be done from my perspective, and nothing that I can do, then it's. I'm very realistic about it. I have to step away but I'll tell you, I'll fight for it as long as I can.
Yeah. And failure is a part of life, right? Not everything is gonna go.
Oh yeah, and there's so many things that impact it. Like,
absolutely.
who knew COVID was coming?
Yeah, so many.
Who knew? I mean, you can anticipate maybe ups and downs in the economy. Who knows when stores have to retract and consolidate their vendors? There's no timing. There's no predictive capability that would anticipate when that was going to happen. So you just have to go at it, and hopefully you can get through it and come out the other side.
What are some other successes you've had?
We built a predictive learning platform. That company came to us looking for some way to digitize a bingo game that they used in health and safety training. So they would go to every one of their store outlets to play this bingo game. And part of the game was asking questions related to health and safety. You get dabs by answering the questions right. And then you'd compete against each other. But it was very much a manual project. Basically what we did is digitized it. We figured out how to network it across different machines, different bandwidths, so that everybody in this big organization, I think there was 19,000 employees, probably 1,000 locations.
Wow.
We made it possible for them to all play the game without having a trainer come in and do all the work setting it up. And when we were doing that, we identified the opportunity to uncover the strengths and weaknesses of the employees. And so we built this large platform, which is under another name right now that I can't say, but it's a $700 million company now.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
that was a big success.
Yeah.
It was taking a problem and understanding how to solve for it now, and then leveraging it for what more can it deliver given what the company is going through, what it needs, and how we can deliver on it.
What would you say is the perfect recipe for success? I know there is no perfect, but is there an algorithm, or is there
No
steps that you take?
I'd say when it comes to retail products or consumer product goods, which quite frankly is my passion, obviously the people behind it, but then once you get everybody working together and create a solution, the one thing that's always missing is the awareness, the influence, and the accessibility. Those were the common things. It's common with every business. If you can't get people to know and understand what you do, if you don't have cheerleaders who are saying, yes, that is a great product, a third party endorsement of what you're doing, and if you don't have your products accessible, easy to get, you're not going to be successful. And so I've carried that along right from day one, from that first Frostbuster. But it changes. Like the world changes. TV isn't the medium anymore.
Right.
Digital became the medium. Yeah. Well, digital's not the medium anymore. Influencers are the medium. But it's the underlying same concept. And how do you get all those things together? That's the secret to success. And it's not easy because it's all people. So you really have to listen, understand, work together, collaborate, understand what's in it for everybody, and try to make it work together.
So we're in this factory and we're building a bunch of different things. Tell me what's going on here.
Okay, so when I first started the Extreme Eco, and I call it a multi-sprayer, I was really challenged to understand how to make it. What is the best way to make it? Do I go to another country and have it made there because it's made cheaper? What are the things I'm going to not get if I go that route? I'm friends with Gary, who owns Duron Plastics here, and he's the inventor of Retract-A-Bit. We talked about the challenges of making Canadian products, competing against international developers, producers that really don't have to pay their employees. How do you compete against that? And what was the value prop for building it here versus having it built elsewhere? I also interviewed tons of producers at various shows, and I asked them how they produce their products. So I managed to get a lot of information. But the bottom line was I really wanted to build a quality product, something that wasn't going to break in 5 days. I wanted to be able to interact with the manufacturer so that we could both identify problems at the same time. I'm not an injection molder. I have no idea how to do it. So I need someone who's going to be upfront with what is needed and how we go about this, what materials we need. And at the end of the day, Gary became one of my best friends in the process. And I decided that this was, quite frankly, the best place to build it. This was pre-pandemic. Pandemic came along, and it became very evident that Canadians manufacturing overseas is not reliable. We are last in the priority list because we're not the biggest. Timing, if we need stuff quickly, we can't get it because we have to ship it. There's a lot of issues that come out that, yeah, you might be able to get cheap products that fall apart, but you'll never get the support that you'll get from someone in your own backyard.
Absolutely. Can you describe each one of the aspects of your product of Extreme Weed Build?
Starts with the multi-sprayer. The biggest problem that I had when I first did Frostbuster, and then when I helped other companies doing similar products like that, where you needed a trigger sprayer, you needed a bottle, you needed a label, you have your active ingredients, and then all of this water, I always felt that it was so much cost to sell to get this much concentrate to the consumer. It's not only the waste of the plastic, but it's the waste of the shipping,
Right.
the weight,
Yeah.
the storage, the distribution, the shelf space in retail. All of these things factored into some major waste that I thought there should be a better way. Why can't we just, and I used SodaStream and Keurigs as examples of what is possible.
Hmm.
If we can create a device where we could put the concentrates in and just switch the concentrates up, fill the bottle with water and just switch from one to the other. You'll have this bottle for 5 years plus because it's made here at Durham Plastics, and the guy who makes Retract a Bit, solid material, it's going to last. So then it's just a matter of selling these little 2-ounce cartridges of concentrate.
Awesome. So as you spray, the water goes, mixes with a little bit of the concentrate
Yep.
and comes out at the same time.
So every trigger pulls up some water, pulls in a measured amount of the concentrate, mixes it, aerates it.
Hmm.
You have different settings for the spray, as you typically do in any sprayer, but
Yeah. And what are the different pods that you have available for what type of?
we can make hundreds of different solutions, but we've started out with a glass cleaner, a multi-purpose, an odor and stain remover, a scale and scum for bathrooms. We have one now. It doesn't work that well in the sprayer, but on its own, it's like CLR. So we supply that, but it's not something you can use in the trigger sprayer right now.
Okay.
But it's an amazing product, and these are all natural products.
Really?
Yes, all natural. They were formulated by my partner in Calgary. What he does is he supplies alternatives for the oil and gas and the agriculture market, things that would clean their oil pumps. They make it impossible for bugs to eat plants, those sorts of things.
Okay.
And he's got hundreds of these formulas. Now we're looking at ways to introduce them into the marketplace. We wanted to start out with something that was going to be, what do people use most often right now?
Right.
And then we'll just introduce more as we come along.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me more about CanadaBoosts. I know we've talked about this and it's so exciting and so necessary, especially I feel like in this time.
Yeah. It was born out of the struggles that I was having. Now that I finally had this product done, getting through the pandemic, getting through figuring out how to engineer the tools so that they all work together. There's 33 different pieces in this thing. So you need tools for each one. Each tool has to be calibrated so tightly so that water, when you put the units together, the water doesn't leak out. I mean, it is finicky. So it took us a couple of years to finally nail that down, and we did. But when we finally nailed it down, everybody was shutting down. The retailers across Canada were now consolidating their vendors. The economy, the inflation is up. Retailers are struggling to find vendors that can provide products with good profit margin. There's shrinkflation happening. There's a lot of things that are happening in the marketplace. So retailers aren't even looking, they can't look at us small producers. Gary here, he's been trying to get into retail. He's got one of the most amazing products that I've ever seen. He's got a SKU of like a whole bunch of these products. Retailers won't even give him the time of day because he doesn't have enough SKUs. The value had to be so low so that they could make their margins. Fortunately, those things are changing now. The consumers are really sick and tired of the cheap products that are in the retail now. They're looking for quality. but they're also the big challenge that we would have, and the challenge that retailers have with guys like me and guys like Gary, is that we can't get the awareness out there. We're little guys. The big guys own all of the keywords and key phrases when it comes to social media. We'll never get found. Go into Amazon, you've got 350 million products, different products. How do you stand out in that? Now it's getting more expensive and more expensive to even make any slight penetration in that vast sea. So, and then the other route that people are taking is they're making their own websites with their own e-commerce site and trying to advertise on Facebook and it's not working because the big guys own all the keywords for Facebook and all of the search engines and all of those things. So the idea for Canada Boost was to say, well, let's bring everybody together. Let's bring all of these manufacturers together. Myself, Gary, Neil. I'm sorry?
They're all Canadian manufacturers?
They're all Canadian, 100% Canadian manufacturers. And they have amazing innovations. So the idea was to bring everybody together, work with influencers, because there's another segment, a Wild West right now. Influencers trying to figure out how to make money, how to become independent businesses on their own as opposed to just being side hustles. Rules with all the platforms change constantly. So how do they sustain themselves? And that was there was that issue. So I looked at the whole picture and I said, they have that issue. We have this issue. Retailers have this issue. What can we do collectively so that we can bring Canadian eyeballs to one location? And I compare this to looking up in the sky at the stars, and you see all these different little stars out there, but you never see one unless you really look at the one, and that's that 1 in a billion. That is that 1 in a billion. That's what we're doing in Canada as small Canadian manufacturers. We're those 1 in a billion, hoping that someone sees us. Canada Boost clusters. So we're bringing Canadian innovators together and manufacturers who, quite frankly, when you look at the stats, they support 97, them and the retailers and the restaurants and all the service businesses, the small businesses, they support 97% of our employment in Canada. If we're not helping them, what's going to come of our country?
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if we cluster manufacturers who have market-ready products, who have tested them, who have all the certifications, and we bring them together and we team up with our influencers and have them help generate that awareness. Our influencers share in the sale of the product. The manufacturers now get revenue streams and predictable revenue streams, and they can build and create and build and supply and provide more jobs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have a platform that supports the retailers so that when there's enough awareness of any one of these products, we can go to these retailers and say, hey, listen, Canadian Tire or Home Hardware, do you want to support Canada? Look at these products. We've already proven, we've generated the awareness. There's evidence that people want this product, and we will help drive people to your stores. And that'll help the retailers. Yeah. Because it's hit and miss for these guys. These buyers, their jobs are on the line if they don't have products that generate revenue.
Right.
It's an unfortunate situation, but it exists practically and realistically. It has to exist that way. They're not the bad guys. They just are struggling too. So collectively, maybe we can all work together. And then here's the next thing. If we can take one of those products, 2 of those products, 10 of those products, 100 of those products, and take them to shows in the States, in Germany, and present them with what we've done with these products in Canada, we can get international distribution. And we have those guys set up already. We're waiting for good Canadian products.
Absolutely. We have a lot of manufacturing in Canada. A lot of it,
oh my God,
the past 25 years has gone, unfortunately, out of Canada. And I think we're all feeling that. We're all feeling that.
Gary was a tool and die guy. he was one of the best in the area. When I met him, he had to get rid of all of his CNC machines because he couldn't compete with the stuff coming from China.
Mm.
He kept enough here and got the dies made in China and had them brought here and then fixed them all because they were all wrong. Fortunately, he had the skill. What's going to happen 10 years from now? Are we going to have tool and die guys?
Mm.
If we're not building a fertile ecosystem that goes from production to consumption, and if we continue to rely on international companies to be our media, Facebook and no diss to them, they're doing a great job. They're getting the awareness, they're harnessing it, but they're not doing it for Canada.
No.
And we're getting lost. We're not a priority. Amazon, we're not a priority. This is not a Canadian company. We have to look at what do we have in Canada? What are we losing? Should we lose it? I say no.
Right.
I mean, we have our skills. We have so many immigrants coming in Canada now. People want to live here. Where are they going to work?
Yeah.
Let's provide jobs for them.
Mm-hmm.
These people are talented. They want the work.
Mm-hmm. I have a hard question. So some, like you said, some of the challenges are that we can't produce things for the same cost as, say, someone or a company producing in China. What does that look like then? The companies that we bring in, are they going to be a little bit more expensive, but at least we're supporting our...
Well, the key is more around the innovation.
Okay.
It's not about being a commodity producer of little widgets that you can pump out 1 million in a minute. It's more about what can we create? How can we use our ingenuity and our smarts to make something better, make something stronger, make something do more? If we don't provide any hope for these manufacturers that, yeah, I can do this, but I can't get it out in the marketplace, that's all going to die.
Right.
And all of the apprentices that work with them that are trained to discover, identify, create solutions, the initiative to be more. As a country, our greatest value is our intellect. It's our education. It's our creativity. But if we don't enable that, if we don't let these kids create and build and solve problems, we're going to be widgets.
Yeah.
And our lifestyle is going to drop. So we need to keep this up. CanadaBoosts is about Canadian prosperity. It's about the future. It's about making sure that great ideas like the multi-sprayer can thrive, not only in Canada, but internationally. And it'll thrive because it's well built. And it doesn't matter if you're competing against a product that's made for half the price, because it's not going to stand up. People want quality nowadays. Or like Gary's retractabit. The thing is amazing. It's been around for a long time, but when I show people, they're like, oh, I think my dad used to have one of those. Gary's innovated it. It's not the same one it was 20 years ago. The tool today is amazing. And then we have, I'm working with a firefighter, Chris Evans, with Back in Service. He saw all this waste, fire hose and jackets, all this stuff going to the dump. He found ways to repurpose it and create pet toys, wine coolers, gym bags. He's also developed a key safety system for keys on emergency vehicles. This thing's brilliant, but he can't get it out there. One of the biggest challenges we all have is that we're small. Nobody looks at the small guy.
So that's what CanadaBoosts is doing. You're giving a voice,
We're making everybody big.
a megaphone.
A megaphone and a focus. Okay, I talked about the stars in the sky, and when we cluster them, we can get, it makes it easier to see. Okay, there's a billion other little stars out there, but there's this cluster right here. that my eye is naturally drawn to. The sun's over there. We call that Amazon. But let's have our own little cluster that's like, oh, yeah, okay. Let's look at these guys. And let's have people in it that are saying, yeah, come look at this.
Amazing.
And let's build a business and an ecosystem that people who are challenged in their jobs now, who have these side hustles, who love to be creators, who love to talk about specific things like cooking, like motor repair. They become our sort of category specialists. And we help build their audience. They help build sales for our customers. When we have those category influencers, then we have a big bright star in each category. Then we have the Big Dipper. So that's sort of the vision behind it. It's what's needed.
Absolutely.
I've talked to so many people. We're in the process of bringing in or talking to investors, figuring out how best to set this thing up. Everybody gets it. Like, this is not something that people don't get.
Yeah, we've all been talking about it. We've all slowly watched all of our manufacturing disappear and those jobs.
And our media, our newspapers disappear, and our television stations disappear. I've had so many friends in those things, owners of newspapers, owners of television stations, struggle to survive and figure out how to do this digital, what's happening with this world, only to be killed off by foreign interests.
And one of the wonderful things about Canada is that we have such a diverse group of people with so many different ideas and so many different ways to look at things. And when you bring people together and allow them to grow and to figure out new solutions, Canada should be a top innovator.
Absolutely.
Globally. We have all the resources.
Yes.
Natural resources.
We stop feeding it, it'll die.
That's right.
And all we are is oil and gas, lithium, trees, and water.
Yeah.
Maybe coal, maybe some gold. Let's not rely on that. Let's rely on our intelligence.
So if someone was an innovator and they have this great product, what would they do? How would they connect with you?
Go to CanadaBoosts.ca. Sign up. It comes right to me. I will call you right away.
Amazing. When do you think that Canada Boosts will be up and running full steam ahead?
Full steam ahead? Well, it's running now, part steam ahead. We just got the final piece of our solution. That is where we're telling the stories of the innovators that doing what you're doing here. We're going to the heart of the story and the people behind the products. We want Canadians to know who's behind these products. We want them to know their stories, their struggles. But I don't want to make this filled with drama. I want it to be filled with hope, aspiration, encouragement, growth. And I want people to join as boosters, buy the products, engage with our influencers, listen and watch the stories, and share. So the question is, when are we going to be fully there? I think by the end of January, maybe we'll be fully there. Right now, we're somewhat live. You can buy products on it right now. We'll be integrating the story part. We'll be building out the platform. We're raising money and talking to investors so that we can build it even bigger and more substantial. So long answer for a short question.
It's very exciting. Amazing. What is it as I said at the beginning, you are a serial entrepreneur. What is it about being an entrepreneur that you love?
I love the problem solving. I'm addicted to problem solving. So every venture is a problem at the beginning, and it takes the form of a solution. So it's that creative process. I love the meeting the people. I love helping people, because 9 times out of 10, it's not my idea, it's their idea. They've identified the problem. They've come up with the solution. They need to figure out if it's the right solution, and they need to trust that I can help them get there. And when they trust me, I love that. I hate when they're disappointed. And sometimes they're disappointed for no reason in their control or my control. It happens.
What advice would you give someone who's looking to just get into being an entrepreneur?
Go in with open eyes. I think that's the biggest or the best advice I can give. I've been brought into university classes, like MBA programs. They don't like that answer. The reason they don't like it is because it's hard. It is very hard. I mean, it's fun at the beginning to have the idea, but it's like having kids. They're a challenge.
Yeah.
And there's problems that you didn't anticipate. And you have to feed them. Apparently, you have to feed these babies. And where do you get that food? And how do you support it? And how do you? It's a journey. It's a long journey. Be ready to be in it for the long haul. Not every story. It's not everybody is an overnight success. Some overnight successes take 10 years.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and some, you hear these odd stories. Well, I just put it online and all of a sudden, boom.
Right.
I doubt it, but yeah, persevere. No, go in eyes open. That's my best. But you know what? It's the most rewarding. Having children is incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely.
Building something, creating, following it through, dedicating yourself to it.
Baby.
It's a baby.
Yeah.
It becomes your teenager, and it doesn't like you, and it doesn't want to talk to you, but you still love it.
Yeah.
And if you cannot kick it out, and you can keep with it and get it through so that it's self-sufficient, it is so rewarding. You don't get that in any job anywhere.
Yeah.
You really don't, especially nowadays.
So do you have a life philosophy or something that you live by?
Balance. You can't do it alone. So you need either good friends who will help you when you need help, a good spouse who will help you when you need, and who believes in your vision. You need to be there for your kids. You need to be there for yourself. You need to take care of yourself. Work out, yoga, meditation, whatever. Just, so it's the balance of all of that, but don't lose focus on your business as well. Treat them equally. Do not, and as far as I'm concerned, do not neglect the others. You can have a major success for a product, but I've seen so many guys who are alone, lonely billionaires, where they don't have a wife anymore or a husband anymore, or they don't talk to their kids or their kids don't talk to them. It's the most heart-wrenching. I'd sooner be, a couple millionaire and have a very strong family than be a billionaire and not have any family. So that's my philosophy on this: balance. And it all takes work.
I like that.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
I am so excited to see CanadaBoost grow and see all of the amazing Canadian manufacturers, Canadian businesses, innovations that are going to come to you and that you're going to put a spotlight on. I can't wait to see what
Absolutely.
happens. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. Please remember that the Hugs discount is Hugs CB. That's for Hugs CanadaBoost. So Hugs CB, and you can get 15% off any product on CanadaBoost.ca right now. Thank you so much for joining and have a great day.